Dawn broke over the Serengeti Wildlife Sanctuary in Tanzania. Early sunlight streamed down on the medical facility where Zara, a golden-brown mixed-breed dog with distinctive white markings on her paws, lay motionless in the corner of her kennel. 4 days earlier, she had endured a traumatic birth, delivering 6 premature puppies, but complications during delivery claimed all their lives. Zara's mammary glands had begun producing milk after birth, a complex physiological process triggered by the hormone prolactin, which controls milk production in most mammalian species. But now, with no offspring to nourish, her body continued producing milk in a futile effort to obey nature's command. Zara's amber eyes stared into emptiness, displaying clear signs of postpartum depression, a phenomenon documented not only in humans, but in many mammalian species, especially those capable of forming strong bonds with their young like dogs. According to veterinary behaviorists, grief over losing offspring in dogs manifests through withdrawal behavior, food refusal, and decreased response to environmental stimuli. Exactly what Zara was experiencing. Zara had once been a guard dog for a local Maasai herding family. When she became pregnant, instead of receiving special care, she was abandoned near a watering hole, a harsh reality in many rural Tanzanian regions, where domestic animals are often viewed as working tools rather than family members. Wildlife rangers found her in an exhausted state with dangerously low blood glucose levels and signs of severe dehydration, life-threatening symptoms for a pregnant animal. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the 45-year-old veterinary director of the sanctuary, watched Zara through the observation window. With 15 years of research and work with African wildlife, she understood that Zara's deep sorrow was not merely human emotion projected onto animals, but a genuine response from the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for basic emotions in most mammals. That same day, an urgent radio call from the Northern Patrol Unit reported they had discovered an abandoned lion cub, Panthera leo. Evidence at the scene, bullet casings and blood traces, indicated that his mother had been killed by poachers. Although hunting wild animals is banned in Tanzania, poaching still occurs, especially targeting lions, as their bones and other body parts command high prices in illegal wildlife markets. The lion cub was named Aslan, estimated to be about 3 weeks old based on his body size, eye development, and the presence of emerging milk teeth. When brought to the center, tests revealed Aslan was suffering from severe hypothermia, with a body temperature of only 35.8 degrees Celsius compared to the normal 38.2 degrees Celsius for lion cubs. He showed signs of severe dehydration, reduced skin elasticity, a clinical indicator of dehydration, and infection from a deep wound on his front shoulder, evidenced by elevated white blood cell counts in blood samples. Dr. Rodriguez and the medical team implemented multiple emergency measures. They administered Ringer's lactate solution to correct dehydration and electrolyte imbalance, injected broad-spectrum antibiotics to combat infection, and placed Aslan in a temperature-controlled incubator to gradually raise his body temperature. They fed him specialized formula designed for large cats, adjusted with higher protein content and enriched with taurine, an essential amino acid crucial for big cat development. However, formula milk, despite careful preparation, still lacked many vital components found in natural mother's milk, particularly antibodies and immune factors that cannot be artificially synthesized. "I'm not sure he'll survive the night," whispered Maria, Elena's assistant. Not just because of the physical injuries, but because lion cubs need maternal bonding to develop properly. The absence of this connection can cause prolonged stress responses that affect their immune system and recovery ability. That night, Elena stayed awake beside Aslan's enclosure. She observed the small movements of the lion cub's body, each gentle rise and fall of his belly while breathing, the occasional flutter of eyelids during sleep, signals of REM dreams. She knew that even while sleeping, Aslan's brain was still processing experiences and perhaps searching for images of his mother, an essential bond that had been severed too early. When the first rays of sunlight streamed through the window, Elena noticed Aslan was still alive, still breathing. A bold idea emerged in her mind, an idea based on understanding the biological mechanisms of maternal instinct and the bonding between mother and offspring in mammals. "Zara is still producing milk," Elena told Maria. Not only that, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is still actively working in her body after giving birth, promoting nurturing behavior. And Aslan needs not just nutrition, but also the emotional bonding that only a mother can provide. Maria looked at her skeptically. Elena, are you thinking of pairing a dog with a lion? They're two completely different species with entirely different instinctual behaviors and social structures. True, but maternal instinct transcends many barriers, Elena explained. There are fundamental biological mechanisms that control nurturing behavior in most mammalian species. The cries of young, their small size, and even the ratio between head size and body proportion can trigger caregiving responses. Konrad Lorenz's research on baby schema, Kinshentschema, proved this. Childlike features such as large heads, big eyes, and short limbs stimulate protective responses in many species. But what if Zara reacts with fear or aggression? Lions are apex predators, even as cubs. That's a risk, Elena admitted. But Zara isn't a wild dog. She's been domesticated and moreover, she's in a special postpartum physiological state. Prolactin and oxytocin hormones are dominating her nervous system, suppressing aggressive responses and promoting protective behavior. We'll monitor carefully, ready to intervene if necessary. After much consideration, Maria agreed. They prepared a special room, temperature controlled at 26 degrees Celsius, 65% humidity, with dim lighting to reduce stress, and floors covered with soft materials to create a sense of safety for both creatures. Infrared cameras were installed to monitor interactions without needing bright lights that might disturb them. Elena carefully carried Aslan in a soft blanket. The lion cub lay still, too weak to react. Maria led Zara into the specially prepared room. The mixed-breed dog walked slowly, head hanging low, her empty gaze reflecting the pain of losing her offspring. Let them find each other naturally, Elena said as they placed Aslan about 2 meters away from Zara. Initially, Zara seemed unaware of the new presence. She just lay still, head resting on her front paws. Aslan lay curled up on the cushion, each breath an effort. 10 minutes passed in silence. Then suddenly, Aslan let out a weak cry, the sound of a child searching for his mother. Zara's ears twitched slightly. For the first time since losing her litter, she had reacted to something. Aslan cried again, weaker this time. Now Zara raised her head, her amber eyes focusing toward the sound. Slowly, Zara stood up and moved toward Aslan. As she approached, Zara lowered her head, her nose gently sniffing the small, trembling creature. Time seemed to stand still in that moment, two lonely beings facing each other. One who had lost her children, one who had lost his mother. Then, with a gentle movement, Zara began licking Aslan. Light, careful licks, the way a mother cares for her child. Aslan responded to this contact, his small body relaxing, eyes slowly closing in the first sense of safety since being rescued. "This is incredible," Maria whispered, tears welling up. Elena decided to attempt nursing. With careful assistance, they placed Aslan near Zara's belly. Initially, both were awkward, but then Aslan found a nipple and began nursing, weakly at first, but gradually stronger. Zara lay still, eyes wide open, filled with an indescribable emotion, a mixture of surprise, protective instinct, and new hope. Her body curved into an arc around Aslan, as if wanting to protect this newly found child. After nursing, Aslan slept soundly, the first truly peaceful sleep since losing his mother. Zara remained awake, eyes never leaving the small creature beside her. When dawn came, both had changed. Aslan not only survived, but showed clear signs of improvement. Zara, who had previously refused all food, now eagerly welcomed breakfast, as if understanding that she needed strength to care for Aslan. In the following days, a miraculous transformation occurred. Aslan gained weight rapidly. His wounds healed better than predicted. Zara became a devoted mother, not only nursing Aslan but also teaching him basic skills. Their relationship developed so deeply that Elena decided not to separate them. The sight of Zara and Aslan sleeping curled up together became an image that touched the hearts of everyone at the center. After 3 weeks, Aslan was healthy enough to be moved to a larger space. Elena decided to move both together, creating a special area natural enough for Aslan to develop, but safe enough for Zara to accompany him. Here, their story would enter a new chapter. 6 months later, in the semi-natural habitat of the Serengeti Wildlife Sanctuary, the transformation had become a source of amazement for both scientists and visitors. Aslan, the small lion cub who had once stood on the brink of death, had now developed into a robust young lion. His golden coat had deepened to a rich tawny color, and the first hints of a mane were beginning to appear around his neck and shoulders. The wound on his front shoulder had healed completely, leaving only a faint scar as a reminder of the past. Zara, the golden-brown mixed-breed dog with white markings on her paws, now had to look up at her adopted child. Aslan had grown much larger than her, the powerful, muscular frame of a maturing lion becoming increasingly apparent. But in Zara's eyes, Aslan was still the child who needed her guidance and protection. Each morning, when the sun barely appeared over the Tanzanian grasslands, Zara and Aslan would begin their familiar ritual. They would patrol their territory together, Aslan occasionally bounding ahead with the characteristic playfulness of young lions, while Zara trotted steadily behind, her alert eyes monitoring every movement around them. Sometimes Aslan would disappear into the tall grass, then suddenly pounce out, trying to startle Zara, a game the young lion never seemed to tire of. Dr. Rodriguez and the research team spent hours observing this unusual pair. They documented how Zara taught Aslan survival skills, not in the manner of a lioness, but according to a dog's instincts. She taught Aslan how to track by scent, how to listen to distant sounds, and how to remain alert when sensing danger. Remarkably, Aslan seemed to understand and adapt these lessons, combining them with his innate lion instincts. In turn, Aslan also taught Zara new things. The young lion would practice stalking behaviors that Zara had never seen, crouching low in the grass and moving with the fluid grace of his species. Zara would watch intently, as if trying to understand this wild part of her adopted child. Sometimes, when dusk fell, they would sit together on a rocky outcrop, silhouetted against the setting sun, creating a surreal scene that researchers never tired of witnessing. One evening, as Elena observed the pair through night vision equipment, she realized it was time to face a difficult decision. Aslan was nearly 10 months old, the age when in the wild a young male lion would begin exploring beyond his pride's territory and learning to hunt larger prey. Although the bond between Aslan and Zara remained strong, conservationists worried that if Aslan wasn't encouraged to develop his natural instincts, he would never be able to fully adapt to the role of an adult lion. "We need to make a decision about Aslan's future," Elena said in the team meeting. "He needs to learn to hunt properly, to understand territorial behavior, and eventually to find his place in the wild. These are things Zara cannot teach him." The team discussed various solutions. Some suggested completely separating Aslan from Zara and placing him in a specialized lion reintegration program. Others proposed a more gradual approach, allowing Aslan to interact with other lions in the sanctuary while maintaining contact with Zara. While the discussion continued, an unexpected incident occurred, an incident that ultimately helped them make the right decision. That day, the care team brought a special meal, fresh gazelle meat, for both Zara and Aslan. Usually, they divided the food into 2 separate portions, but today, due to an oversight, they only placed 1 large portion of meat in the area. When the scent of fresh meat spread, both Zara and Aslan reacted strongly. Both were hungry after a long morning of play, and natural instinct drove them toward the food source. Aslan, with his wild lion instincts gradually awakening, suddenly let out a deep growl, the first sound truly resembling an adult lion. The young lion lunged toward the meat with speed and decisiveness he had never shown before. Zara also approached, hoping to share the meal as usual. But this time, something had changed. Aslan, now a young lion with awakening predatory instincts, suddenly snarled and shouldered Zara away, claiming the entire piece of meat. This action was not only surprising, but somewhat aggressive, a side of Aslan no one had seen before. Elena and the staff observed, not daring to intervene in this crucial moment. This was a natural part of development. Aslan was displaying his true lion instincts, asserting dominance as male lions do in the wild. Zara, pushed away, looked at Aslan with confused eyes. For a moment, it seemed she didn't recognize her adopted child. She stepped back, but didn't give up. With the patience and wisdom of an experienced mother, she circled around Aslan, trying to find a way to approach the meat without provoking the young lion. Aslan, driven by primal instinct, continued growling and protecting his kill. He ate ravenously, tearing at the meat with the increasing strength of young lion jaws. His eyes never left Zara, alert and even somewhat threatening. This scene worried Elena and the research team. Was this a sign that the relationship between Zara and Aslan was beginning to fracture? Would wild instinct ultimately triumph over the love that had been nurtured for months? Aslan quickly consumed the large portion of meat, leaving only a few small pieces scattered around. Zara, seemingly disappointed, slowly walked away and curled up in a corner, her sad eyes watching the adopted child who no longer seemed to recognize her. Tension filled the air. But then a miracle happened. Aslan, having satisfied his hunger, suddenly stopped and looked toward Zara. There was something in the young lion's eyes, an awareness, perhaps remorse. The observers began recording, sensing that something special was about to occur. Aslan slowly approached Zara, eyes never leaving his adoptive mother. His steps were no longer aggressive, but became cautious, almost timid. When he got close, Aslan did something amazing. He gently touched Zara's paw with his massive front paw, then lowered his great head to nuzzle her gently, like an apologetic gesture. Zara remained silent, not yet ready to forgive. Her eyes looked at Aslan with disappointment that only a mother could express. But Aslan didn't give up. He tried again, using his nose to gently bump against Zara, seeking a sign of forgiveness. Observing this situation, Maria suggested an experiment. They wanted to see Aslan's reaction if more food was provided. Elena agreed and a new, smaller portion of meat was brought into the area. This time, something amazing happened. When the meat was introduced, Aslan didn't move at all. He remained standing next to Zara as if restraining his instincts. The young lion seemed to be waiting, observing Zara's reaction. Zara slowly stood up, looking at Aslan cautiously, then moved toward the meat. Aslan still didn't move, allowing Zara to approach the food first. Silence enveloped the watching crowd, some even wiping away tears at this touching moment. But something even more moving was about to happen. Zara picked up a piece of meat, and instead of eating it, she carried it to Aslan, gently placing it in front of the lion. It was a gesture of forgiveness, an affirmation of a mother's unconditional love. Aslan accepted the meat, not with eagerness, but with appreciation. Then something unthinkable happened. The young lion pushed the meat back toward Zara, inviting her to eat first. Both shared the meal in peace, occasionally looking at each other with deeper connection than ever before. After that incident, Elena made the final decision about Aslan and Zara's future. She realized that although Aslan was gradually becoming a true lion with wild instincts, the bond between him and Zara was too special to be completely broken. "We will continue to keep them at the sanctuary," Elena announced to her team. "But we will expand their area, creating a mixed environment natural enough for Aslan to develop lion skills, but safe enough for Zara to stay with him. At the same time, we will begin giving Aslan controlled exposure to other lions so he can learn from his own kind." And so, a special habitat was designed for this unlikely pair. With more spacious surroundings, Aslan could practice stalking and develop his hunting skills while Zara could still stay nearby. Over time, Aslan became better at hunting, even catching small antelope and birds. But remarkably, whenever he made a kill, Aslan always brought it back to share with Zara before eating himself, a behavior rarely seen even in wild lions. When Aslan turned 18 months old, an important moment arrived. The research team introduced a young lioness to a nearby enclosure, a lioness rescued from human-wildlife conflict and fully recovered. Initially, Aslan showed wariness and even indifference, but gradually natural instinct began to awaken. Aslan started spending time near the fence, observing the lioness with increasing curiosity. His behavior changed subtly. He would pace along the barrier, occasionally letting out low calls that the lioness would answer. Zara witnessed these changes with wise acceptance. She didn't try to keep Aslan by her side, but instead seemed to understand that her adopted child was growing up and needed to explore his own world. Sometimes, when Aslan was absorbed in watching the lioness, Zara would quietly turn away, giving Aslan private space. Finally, the researchers decided to open the gate between the two areas, allowing Aslan and the lioness to meet. The first meeting was tense. No one knew if the lioness would accept Aslan, a lion who had grown up with the scent and some behaviors of dogs. But once again, Aslan surprised everyone. He approached the lioness with confidence and composure, displaying proper lion communication behaviors that seemingly no one had taught him. The two lions gradually accepted each other, even beginning to play and share resting spaces. Zara observed everything from a safe distance, not interfering, but always ready if Aslan needed her. Sometimes, at the end of the day, Aslan would still return to Zara, lying down beside his adoptive mother like in his infancy, seeking familiar comfort and love. The story of Zara and Aslan quickly spread worldwide. Media flocked to the Serengeti Wildlife Sanctuary to document this unusual pair. Videos and images of them flooded social media, touching the hearts of millions. People were moved by the story of love transcending species boundaries, the healing power of bonding, and the strength of compassion. One afternoon, as sunset painted the Tanzanian savanna in golden hues, Elena sat on a viewing platform, observing the scene before her. Aslan and the lioness were resting together in the shade of an acacia tree, while Zara lay nearby, her eyes occasionally glancing toward her adopted child. A family that followed no conventional rules, but still a family. Sometimes, Elena said to Maria, sitting beside her, we think we understand nature, understand animals. We set boundaries, rules, expectations. But then Zara and Aslan come along and overturn everything we thought we knew. Maria nodded, eyes never leaving the scene before them. Love knows no boundaries, she said softly. That's the greatest lesson they've taught us. As night fell, Aslan rose from his resting place and walked toward Zara. The young lion, now nearly full-grown with a developing mane, gently lay down beside his adoptive mother. Zara licked Aslan's massive head as she had when he was small, and Aslan responded with a deep, rumbling purr of contentment. This wasn't the end of their story. This was just a new chapter in the miraculous journey of two beings who had found each other in their darkest moment and had risen together, stronger, more loving, and becoming living proof of what many had forgotten, that in the world of nature, as in the human world, love has the power to transcend all boundaries, heal all wounds, and create miracles that no one could imagine. Years later, when visitors came to the Serengeti Wildlife Sanctuary, they would often see an extraordinary sight, a magnificent male lion with a full golden mane, lying peacefully beside an aging golden-brown dog with white markings on her paws. Two beings who had defied every natural law to become mother and son, teacher and student, protector and protected. Their story became more than just a tale of survival. It became a testament to the universal language of love, spoken fluently by all creatures, regardless of species, size, or circumstance.